Hi everyone, I am Eileen Peralta and I am here to discuss to you language of poetry. But before that, let me show you a short clip.
Our topic in registered is poetry. Do you guys have any idea about our topic? What's your Pamela?
Poetry, kasi ako nung bata pa ako, hindi pa ako ganun mahilig magsulat eh. Nagpapasa lang ako, gumuguhit lang ako. You know, poetry, hindi ko masabing poetry ang isang literary piece kapag hindi siya malalim. Or kapag naiintindihan ko siya kagad. Or kapag wala siyang rhyme, yung gano'n.
You mean to say it has to be malalim?
Yeah. And, it has to be related with me. Parang masabi kong poetic talaga yung bagay.
So you're saying when you're in love, you're going to search for a love poetry or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, meron din naman ako sarili kong tula. And when I first made my first poem, my book, I feel complete.
So, how about you, Gladys?
Kasi para sa akin, sa pagkakatanda ko ng meaning ng poetry, nang sabi doon, sa Philippine Lit natin, it has measures and lines and has more melodious tone. Tapos ang pagkakaintindi ko pa dyan, kapag kasi nakakabasa ako ng mga poem, iniisip ko, lagi siyang may kwento. Kaya pag yung isang poem na malalim, hindi ko maintindihan, para sa akin, parang hindi ako nagagandahan doon. Mas napipil ko siya kapag may kwento. Di ba nga, ang mga kanta, yung mga lyrics na, kadalasan pinagagalingan niya poem o yung mga tula.
No.
So, ikaw, Marian,
Paano
ano sa'yo?
So, nung bata kasi ako, I used to write poems, especially when I was in first year to third year high school. I love writing Tagalog poems actually. I would go, titingin ako ay tititig sa iyong muka't bibig. I always do the pattern na AABB. Yun yung palagi kong rhyme sa mga poems ko. So, pag ako ay gagawa ng poem, my teacher would give me around a 90 plus.
Wow!
Yeah. But since fourth year, I have love math. Kaya nawala na ako sa poetry.
Pero ngayon,
Now, I think I'm going back to writing poems. Yun kasi, doon na lumalabas yung stress ko eh. Hindi ko nilalabas eh. Yeah, for example, I'm mad. I would do something mad poem or revenge poem. Yeah, if I'm in love, I would write love poems or something like that. But I'm more on letters today.
yeah. So we have our own idea about poetry.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's it. Bye!
Okay, maybe that was a little longer than expected, but you get the point. You saw my other group mates and how they see poetry and express their own ideas about it in their own words. When I was younger, I thought poetry was words you see in Hallmark greeting cards. The words that rhyme. I think that was what poetry is all about. Because they give you those feeling. You feel love, you feel happy, you feel sadness. And poems always have to rhyme. But that was before. Now I learned that poem doesn't always have to rhyme and doesn't always give you that feeling. It does, but not the ones in Hallmark greeting cards. It's much deeper than that. And here we're going to explain to you what is the real meaning of poetry.
Poetry is language. Poetry uses language in many different ways. By noticing that it makes poetry with language, it becomes easier to understand and talk about the poem. if you are a writer, consider using some of these language techniques to emphasize certain ideas, themes, or images.
Okay. Check ako dun. Anyway, I am going to show you a clip of Gladys Cabrera, and she was going to discuss about imagery.
Go. I'm going to explain to you imagery. Imagery is used in making poetry. So, imagery is the word used to describe the types of images a poet uses throughout the poem. Images or references to single mental creation. They are the verbal representation of a sense impression. However, there are many different types of imagery that can be used. There are five images. First is the visual images or the sense of sight. Example is, the lookout man will see some lakes of milk color light on the sea's night purple, the first seen by Robinson Zephyrs. Next is the tactile images or touch. The example is, the only things moving are swirls of snow. As I lift the mailbox door, I feel its cold iron. Third is the auditory images or the sound. Example is, she quietly rolled the flour tortillas, the papas, cracking in the hot lard would wake me. Fourth is the gustatory images or taste. Example is, take out a 3-pound leg of lamb, rub it with salt, pepper, and cumin. Then push in 2 cloves of garlic splinters. Last is the olfactory images or smell. The example is, the morning comes to consciousness of faint stale smells of beer from the sawdust trampled street with all its muddy feet that press. The early copy stands prelude C.S. Eliot. That's all.
Let's give Gladys a round of applause. To help you share their experiences in the world, poets create images. Images that helps us picture out things. But it can also appeal to our senses of hearing, taste, smell, and touch. If I am the author, I am the poet, my goal is to make the reader say, "Oh, I see what you mean." There are many different techniques and devices that a poet can use. Pamela Listanko here is about to discuss to you what are those.
For this time, we're going to talk about techniques and devices. Techniques and devices. Poetry uses techniques and devices. There are many other tools that poets use to achieve a certain sound or rhythm. One of these techniques is alliteration. It is the repetition of a consonant sound in the beginning of words that are found close together in a line. For example, O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being. Ode to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The second one technique is assonance. It is the repetition of similar vowel sounds in words that are close to each other in a line. For example, and let the coffee pot boil over on the stove, Living in Sin by Adrian Rich. The third technique is consonance. The repetition of identical consonant sounds but different vowel sounds found close together in a line. For example, embroil roots out of the work of masonry, not marble nor the gilded monument by William Shakespeare. The fifth, euphony. When the sounds of words in a line create an effect that is pleasing to the ear. For example, there is no silence upon the earth or under the earth like the silence under the sea. Silences by E.J. Pratt. The sixth, cacophony. The opposite of euphony. When the sounds of words in a line create a discordance or jarring effect when heard. For example, for growl and cough and snarl are the tokens of spendthrift who know not the ultimate economy of range. Silences by E.J. Pratt. And the last one, onomatopoeia, words that imitate a sound, a verbal echo of the action being described such as buzz, hum, laugh.
And that was Pamela Listanko. Let's give a hand for her. And now I'm going to show you a clip of Marian Grace Solomon, and she is going to discuss about diction and rhyme.
Now, there are three types of diction. Formal diction words are the words that appear a bit more elegant or formal diction will contain words that are polysyllabic or many syllables. The second is the neutral diction. These are the words that appear ordinary and that you hear every day. Constructions are often used in poetry that has neutral diction, as well as the simpler vocabulary. And lastly, the informal diction. These are the words and phrases that are slang expressions, or the colloquial, the language of relaxed activity and friendly conversation. Next.
I am really sorry if you didn't understand a word she said. The background was so noisy and her voice was too low and soft, and maybe you were wondering what the hell is she talking about. Okay, let me explain to you what she just said. It's about diction, okay? Diction is the type of words poets choose to use in their poems. A poem that uses slang expressions that can be just as powerful as a poem that uses a lot of big words. And feel free to mix up your diction in a poem. There's no reason why you have to use just one. There are three diction in here. First, the formal diction, second, the neutral diction, and the third, the informal diction.
Poem is part of To the Virgins to Make March Time by Robert Herrick. Second is the inexact or near rhyme. These are the words that rhyme because they have similar, not identical, sound like bleak or break, and loud burst. Example, between my finger and my thumb, the squat hand rest sound as a gun. The third is the end rhyme. These are the words that end of lines that rhyme, either exactly or inexactly. Example, the massive weight of Uncle's wedding brand sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand, from the poem On Jennifer's Cider by Adrienne Rich. And lastly, the internal rhyme. These are the words in the beginning or middle of a line that rhyme with each other, either exactly or inexactly.
Here are some thoughts that my other group mates might want to share.
Go. Poetic writing on the subject matter of the class, in this case, literature, is a unique kind of composing which demands a different stance from the writer towards language, experience, audience, and subject matter. It involves different emotional sensibilities and cognitive operation, and it provides the freedom important to making imaginative connections and realizing values. Poetic writing exists for its own sake to please, reveal, be
And, and in this sense, the writer's stance is as a spectator within the active process of creation. Figure offers another perspective on our diagram. Participant writing involves a self-interested part of the writer attempting to accomplish an actual task in a limited verb. Spectator writing involves the full writer attempting to imagine his total work in response to new experience. Poetic writing seizes and emphasizes it is a place for play, imaginative thinking, developing personal knowledge in its creation. It places form above self in this sense. In this sense, the writer is a spectator. Considering values the poetic function of language. Creative writing is one important way to wake in a student a pleasure in the very language, a sense of exploring his own activity. And this can be done in science, humanities, business, or engineering courses. We are familiar with testimonials from many sources which acknowledge that the creative impulse is central to the development, understanding, and application of language. Reasoning by analogy and communicating by metaphor are generally recognized as integral strategies of successful thinkers and writers in every discipline. The poetic function of written language becomes important when individuals attempt to relate new knowledge to their value system. People use language poetically to serve a wide variety of functions in their lives. This chapter explains how poetic language helps students assess knowledge in terms of their own systems of belief. Poetic writing in its most familiar and completed forms is what most of us would recognize as, among other things, poetry, stories, plays, and parables. All teachers, of course, need not become creative writing teachers in some formal sense. But teachers from all disciplines can elicit creative language and thus creative thinking from students. All functions of language assist in shaping our beliefs. But poetic language especially helps us understand the now familiar dicta from physics and poetry that one cannot separate the observer from the observed, the dancer from the dance.
I think this video is taking too long, so I guess this is goodbye now. Before I end this video, I just want to leave you with a quote from Quincy True. I thought poetry was just something about dried roses and violets until I discovered that it could be about my shoestring, about my neighborhood, about the sky, about my mother, about being a basketball player or a musician. That's all. Thank you.